They don't hate you, they hate themselves. Close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and try to be them. It's a gift that gives you better context and helps you help more people.
Hi, Evan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm going to go to better lighting. Here's my dance studio.
Oh, snap. Look at that.
Here's my sash.
Nice.
In Washington.
It's the contest is coming up.
It is. It is. I had a question for you. I actually wanted to ask you this, I think, when you did the live with the Miss World America contestants, but then I know you had like a live right after, so you had to go.
Yeah.
But I read your book and I also sent it to like 10 million people.
Okay.
And you didn't mention this in the book, but I wanted to know if you ever feel like down or depressed, because I feel that way because I do a lot of public speaking events and I share about my painful past of, you know, being bullied and going through my heart surgery, receiving my pacemaker, the facial burns. So I have to relive that, but I share my story for like 10 minutes and I have like a 20-minute talk and then, you know, Q&A. So majority of my story is not about my past, it's about how I overcame it.
Okay.
But then, you know, when people come up to me, and you probably have experienced this, and they shared their painful past, you hear their stories. And then I remember just being a judge at Mrs. Washington, and I heard about 10 or 20 different stories about like abandonment and divorce, but I also heard how they overcame that. But I did leave that weekend feeling really down and depressed for a few days. So do you feel that? And if you do, how do you get back on track?
So I used to a lot more. So I'm very empathetic, right? Like I think it's easy to wear the person in front of you, their skin, and then feel what they feel, even if you haven't gone through it. Like even if you haven't felt abandoned, but then the person in front of you feels abandoned, it's easy to feel you're basically, and I think that makes like a great coach and a great speaker, is that you can actually feel what they feel, not just write it off to say, well, just get over it. Well,
right.
No, it's hard. And so you feel their emotions. What I latch onto then is hope, is service. It's like, how do they, like they've already gotten, they're not all the way through it, but they're already better than they used to be. The fact that even that they're coming to your speech, listening to you talk, they're invested in themselves. They've already grown compared to who they used to be. And they want to get better. And so for me, it's turning it not just from a listening session, but into, I want to give them hope. Because if I leave somebody, I had one IG live where I left the person and they had to run and I didn't help them. Like I was pushing him to post his first blog post and he was super scared and afraid and like didn't want to do it. And it's like, dude, you just got to post. You got to post. And everyone in the chat's like, you got to post. You got to post. And then he had to go pick up his kids and he didn't post. And I felt like the worst, right? It was just like, because I maybe left him worse than when he came in. You know, he was kind of put on the spot in public. He's let me down in his head that he didn't post when I wanted all this, and I felt terrible. So I stayed on him. Like at night, I was DMing him and back, and eventually he posted. And that's the thing that gets me through, is I've left them better than when they came in. So for people who are coming to you and telling you their stories, it's if they're leaving with more hope because of talking to you. So there's one thing just to listen, but then to give them hope, to thank them for sharing, to make them feel better about themselves because of the 7.5 minute interaction with you. That's what I choose to lean in on. And I might feel drained at the end of the night, but I feel amazing. Like this is my purpose. This fills the soul, not feeling depressed. But because I gave them hope at the end, because that 7.5 minute conversation with you could be the thing that gives them just a little bit more momentum to keep going to the next step and believe in themselves a little bit more. So if you're just listening, then it's easy to take on people's problems. If you can give them that hope that they can make a better future, then at least for me, that's what makes me feel amazing. That's why I'll speak for half an hour on stage and then spend 6 hours in the lobby just talking to people. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I'll end up being there till 11 or midnight, even though I could have left at 7 because I do want to listen to their stories. And it means a lot that they're waiting to talk to you. So I want to give them that time. And who knows if I'll ever see them again, because I'm in a new city, in a new state. But when you do go to your hotel room, and I love that you said focus on what they learned from that story, focus on the hope, focus on how it was in the past, and let's focus on the future. But I do want to know, when you do get to your hotel room, or you do catch a flight, or if you're traveling right after the event, I know that you love listening to music and putting like I remember we talked about Three Idiots and just putting that song on.
Zooby Dooby.
And just, yes, and then just like going to a different state. Do you do that, or do you sit in that state for a while, or do you just go in a different state so you can focus on the next thing you need to do?
I'll do that in the morning to get me set up for the day. And maybe even before, like if I'm going to go on stage or something where I need to have that, high energy, then I'll do that, but not as like recovery from a session.
Okay.
No, like so usually it doesn't sit with me. Like usually all I'm feeling at the end of it is just gratitude and just, man, I really helped a lot of these people. And if their stories are sitting with me, it's because I'm so excited for where they're about to go and what they can do. But if it's coming back, and I want to sit with it. Like if I talk to you, if this conversation for whatever reason in 4 hours comes back to me, and I'm thinking about Shri tonight, I'm having dinner and like, Shri, I sit with it. Like it came back to me for a reason. And I want to sit with it and just, maybe that's just a moment. And then I never think about it again, or maybe it comes back to me multiple times, and maybe that leads me to email you or send you a DM or something, or go help somebody else. I think if it's coming back to you, it's for a reason, and not to, unless you have to move on to the next thing, and that story is preventing you from doing it. If I had to go live, for another speaking gig or something, and I have Shri still in my head. Part of me though, likely, like if I'm thinking about you for some reason, if I'm speaking in 6 months on some stage and you're in my head before I go live for some reason, like, why am I thinking about Shri? I'm probably going to bring you up on stage. Like I'm probably going to, not you in the audience, but like your story. I was thinking about this amazing woman backstage, and whatever I was thinking about becomes a story to help the audience. So most of the time I'm using that flow and playing in it instead of trying to shut it off and move past it.
Yeah, I love that. I think the story that has stayed with me is, so I was at Mrs. Washington, and so that's part of Mrs. America. So I was a judge there. So some of the females, it was like their second marriage. So there were a lot of them, their platform was bringing the community together, or their platform was anti-depression, so I think the one thing that that I was just shocked to hear is, how could you be married to someone for 10 years and randomly one day that person walks away and you have kids with them? So it was just that, like, I don't know if I could comprehend the amount of heartbreak that these females have gone through, because they were much older. They were 40 and 50, and I'm only 24, so I've never been married. So I was just thinking that must have been so painful for them to go through that process of divorce and then marry again and then come back to Mrs. Washington. But I think pageant for them was a very healing process, and they use pageantry to heal now. So I did focus on that, but I think the entire week following, I was just thinking about how could someone just wake up one day and just leave. So I think, so I don't know.
Okay, so there's two parts to that. One is the like, you haven't been through that, and you're gaining perspective, which is fantastic, because a lot of this game is pattern recognition, that if you see it happening here, you know how to fix it or help or support the next time it comes up. So the more, the more you've done the deep work to think about it, the better answer, the better guide, the better support system you can be for future people who come in. So like, how could that happen is a great question to sit on and ponder and meditate, or whatever the process is. The emotional side though is you pick up your phone and you DM that person and you do a quick video to say, hey, Susan, I know it's 3 weeks later. I don't know. I was thinking about you this morning. I just want to say you're so courageous and so brave. And I mean, what you went through is such an amazing story, and you were on my mind today. Have a fantastic Monday. I love you. Send. And like that. So you're not suffering with it. You're releasing it and giving her hope again. And imagine like her now receiving this message. She's just starting off on Monday. And then, oh my gosh, this is Judge from the contest I was at. Right. And so that's the healing. And I'll do that
today. I will do that today, and I'll send you the screenshots.
I know you'll do it, but that's like, I do that stuff all the time. So it's just trusting that, you know, these two people from that contest a month ago are still in your head to acknowledge it. Right. And then to that will release the emotional pain of it, because you feel bad for her. You're now giving her a gift that will make her day, make her week, make her month, make her year, who knows. And it took you 7.5 seconds to actually send that off to make that difference. But then it's also worth thinking about, you know, that idea of rejection or abandonment or the pain that other people are going through, that it's a gift for you to have extra, because you haven't been through that in your own life. It's a gift that gives you better context and helps you help more people.
I do want to say one more thing, and this is like super personal. Since we're digging so deep, I thought, Ivan, this is going to be a 20-second, but I love this. We're digging deep here. I think it did make me think about my past relationships, because I think when you hear about someone's heartbreak, you think about, like, for me, it was just like my past female friendships, because, you know, I mean, you see that board right there. I was Miss India USA before I was Miss Washington. But I remember when I won that 2 years ago, I was a junior in college. And I remember these two girls I used to live with in my house. They just were really a bit jealous, bitter, kind of rude, and kind of dismissive about everything I would do. You know, I remember I got invited to go to Malaysia for a weekend. And when I would step back into my house, go back to college after that trip where I got to go to Malaysia and experience like being a speaker there and being a mentor there to the Miss India Malaysia contestants, I remember they would just like dismiss everything I would do and not even like kind of acknowledge, and just kind of, I don't know, just like a lot of sly remarks and under the breath remarks. But it made me kind of think about like how I want to forgive them. And I already have, but I think I just like was thinking maybe I should just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm thinking of you, because I'm just the type of person who just wants to make sure that my ending with every person is kind. I don't have to be your best friend or a friend, but I just want the last interaction we have to be something that is, I don't know, something that isn't so like, oh, I just left the house and I never talked to you again kind of thing. But it made me think about my own, there's just two female friendships that were just not kind of toxic.
Yeah. So that's a great ambition. You may not be able to realize it, but it's a great thing to strive for, right? In terms of ending every relationship on a high, like you may not get there, even if that's what you want, because it's a two-sided thing and the person, you know, may not acknowledge it.
Right.
Recognize, so with this kind of stuff, it's recognizing that they don't hate you, they hate themselves. That they don't have the life that they want, that you represent everything that they are trying to get, and they feel like they're working, and, you know, it's so easy for you and you got all these opportunities, and I mean, it's not obviously easy for you. You put a lot in the work to make it happen, but in what they see, they're not happy with their own life, and they're just projecting that onto you and onto others. It's the same thing for people who come and leave nasty comments on Instagram or on YouTube or on, you know, you might post something to your social about the causes you're trying to raise, and there's going to be somebody who's in there going to be nasty, who doesn't even know you.
Yeah.
They don't like themselves. That's the problem. And so it's trying to, just like how well you do in terms of wearing other people's skin at events and then feeling depressed afterwards. But I don't want you to feel depressed. I want you to feel hope. But the ability to to wear their skin. Now put yourself in the shoes or in the skin of these two girls who you were with, how much pain they're going through, that their default is to not support their friend, but to try to tear her down or try to talk about her behind their back. Like how much pain they must be going through in their life. And it's not even about like, when you actually feel bad for them, when you can actually understand their life and what they're going through and what would, like if you believe people are good by default, what would cause a good person to then lash out and be angry at somebody? Well, they're in a lot of pain.
Right.
Then there's nothing to even forgive.
I do want to say, yes, I do think that. I think their life is pretty good. They're in grad schools. They have a solid group of friends, social life, supported parents. But I think it was mostly out of insecurity and just the hierarchy of being in a sorority and wanting to have that control and power. And when a girl like me, wins a national and world title. And so I think it was mostly from a place of insecurity, if I reflect back correctly. Because I think they don't care. They're happy with their life. They don't, they're probably even not forgotten, but just they don't care about what I'm doing per se. But I just care because I think you and I both talk about compassion and kindness. It's like our mantra. We're trying to spread it. So I think for me, I'm constantly thinking about those moral values and reflecting on my life and thinking about how can I be more compassionate and kind and forgiving. So I think you're right. I can only control my efforts. I'll first of all message the Mrs. Washington girls, and then I'll message perhaps the two girls maybe in a few weeks. I'll think about it. If they respond, they respond. But at least I know that from even 2 years after that situation, I put in the effort. And I think I'll be content after that.
You expect a baby to poop their pants, right? You expect the baby to poop in their diapers. That's all they're doing. Like you don't get angry at a baby for pooping in their diapers.
Yeah.
So if you can actually put yourself in their shoes, then there's no forgiveness. Like you don't even feel bad. You feel bad for them instead of yourself. There's nothing you need to forgive. You expect somebody who's hurting to try to hurt others. So it's really just trying to, like, they're probably still not happy with their life if they have some, major personal growth happen, but most people aren't happy with their life. And so we react out of insecurity and fear and jealousy because we don't like ourselves. And so if you can actually do that, then think about them and think about the time that maybe you were jealous of somebody when you were younger. Somebody else got something that you wanted, somebody else achieved and you didn't achieve. You felt that. We've all felt that. We've all felt those kind of jealous. Maybe you didn't react the same way, but you felt the same hurt. How we reacted to the hurt might have been slightly different. But sending a quick message to say, hey, thinking about you, I hope you're okay. Without talking about the accolades and be conscious of not sewing the sash behind you in the wall or whatever.
Yes. Just saying, I hope you're well, thinking about you. I care about you. I appreciate the time that we had. Yeah. Just very simple, like 2-3 lines. And I send you my blessings.
And before you do that, just breathe, close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths and try to be them. Try to imagine them.
Right.
Have them in your spirit when you're sharing. Because it's not, if you come in with a forgiving tone, you're going to lose because they don't feel like, I didn't do anything wrong.
I think I also read this in Dale Carnegie's book. I think 99% of the people don't ever think they did anything wrong. It's like maybe 1 person out of 100 people might think that everyone is self-justified. So I think, you're absolutely right. Think of your audience more than thinking about what I want. I just want to let them know that they're still loved by me, even though things happen. Because the thing is, I will run into them. With COVID, I'm not running into anyone, but we have about 100 or 200 mutual friends. So just I think that's really great advice. Thank you for that.
But even taking away that even though things happened, because you have to actually, if you just feel them, you're wearing their skin, you understand they're in a lot of pain. All you have to do is send the message of love with no but, with no even though.
Absolutely.
Just a message of love. And it doesn't have to be a half-hour like video or something, right? Just something quick. Hey, I was thinking about you. Hope you're okay. But again, try to be them. Try to imagine how they're going to react to it. Try to imagine what they're going through right now, and do that before you press record, and sending that message. Like just before I went live with you guys on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday?
Yes, Friday.
I'm trying to imagine. Okay, we got a bunch of. I'm not a 24-year-old woman, obviously, but I'm trying to imagine. Like, hey, like I'm a 22 to 24-year-old woman. I have a cause I care about. I'm trying to win this contest. I may not have ever competed before. I'm nervous. I'm just trying to imagine. I'm trying to be this person. So then, even the stories that I told were about Lieutenant Uhura and about Whoopi Goldberg and about Mary Kay Ash, and just the stories that I was a different Evan than if somebody else showed up, right? Right. Even though I'm just talking to the camera, I couldn't see any of you. So that skill to say, who am I speaking to? What do they care about? What are their insecurities and concerns and worries and fears? Whether it's one person that you're talking to, an old friend or ex-friend or whatever, or people on a stage or an interviewee, all of that, wearing their skin just before you say something.
Yes.
To bring the best side of you that will help make a shift for them.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that's the number one thing I've learned this year is think of your audience when it comes to public speaking. Thank you so much for this. This was
no problem.
Such a deep conversation. Thank you.
If you want to see another awesome one-on-one I did with an entrepreneur just like you, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.